We begin with fresh attacks today by President Trump against the nation's former CIA Director John Brennan. Tweeting this morning, has anyone looked at the mistakes that John Brennan made while serving as CIA Director? He will go down as easily the worst in history, and since getting out, he has become nothing less than a loudmouth partisan political hack who cannot be trusted with the secrets to our country. This week, the president revoked John Brennan's security clearance, calling him a hack who can't be trusted to keep secrets. The move prompted more than 70 intelligence officials, including top former CIA directors, to come together with a statement warning the president the country will be weakened if there is a political litmus test applied before seasoned experts. Brennan himself firing back at the president, calling him power hungry.
He's drunk on power. He really is. And I think he's abusing the powers of that office. I think right now this country is in a crisis in terms of what Mr. Trump has done and is liable to do.
And Trump may not be stopping with Brennan. He has ordered the White House to draft more clearance cancellations of current and former officials, all of whom have been publicly critical of the president or tied to the Russia investigation in some way. CNN's Sarah Westwood is in New Jersey, where the president is staying this weekend. Sarah, how else is the White House, is the president responding?
Well, Fred, President Trump is continuing to attack the former CIA director whose security clearance he stripped earlier this week in an apparent attempt to retaliate against John Brennan for his criticism of the White House. Trump going after Brennan's tenure as CIA director, describing him as a political hack. And it's true that certainly there were some controversies in Brennan's tenure as CIA director, and there were times when both Democrats and Republicans did criticize Brennan. But former senior intelligence officials, dozens of them, are now banding together to defend Brennan, arguing that President Trump has created a potentially dangerous precedent by stripping a former government official of his security clearance over political commentary that the president doesn't like. 60 ex-CIA officials came together to issue a strong warning to the president, writing, "All of us believe it is critical to protect classified information from unauthorized disclosure. But we believe equally strongly that former government officials have the right to express their unclassified views on what they see as critical national security issues without fear of being punished for doing so. The country will be weakened if there is a political litmus test applied before seasoned experts are allowed to share their views." Now, certainly all of these former senior intelligence officials are not necessarily saying they agree with how Brennan has gone about attacking the president, but they certainly agree with Brennan's right to do so. Meanwhile, President Trump is considering stripping security clearances from 9 additional individuals who are related to the Russia investigation in various ways. Senator Mark Warner, who is the ranking Democrat on the Senate Intelligence Committee, is warning that he will take action if President Trump follows through with this plan. And the Washington Post is reporting that the papers have already been drawn up to strip those security clearances from those 9 officials, but White House aides are waiting for a time when it might be convenient for them to roll out the revocations of those security clearances, perhaps to distract from future negative headlines. Fred?
Sarah Westwood, thanks so much. All right, let's talk more about this. With me right now is Bob Baer, a CNN intelligence and security analyst, and CNN national security analyst Juliette Kayyem. Good to see you both. All right, so we saw this powerful statement from dozens of former CIA officials condemning the president's decision to revoke Brennan's security clearance. So, Bob, as a former CIA case officer, how is this move likely playing with current rank and file members within the CIA?
Not well. I've looked at those 60 names, and there are a lot of very good officers, nonpartisan statement. They're offended by this. It's an attempt at intimidation by the president against the national security establishment to shut them up. And frankly, pulling Brennan's clearance, there's no justification for it. Everybody in the CIA knows why you get one pulled. It's unauthorized disclosure, contact with foreign governments, statements that have been made on television that betray secrets. Brennan did none of that. So this was political retaliation. And I think the president is scared of Brennan because what Brennan knows about the Russian investigation and he's trying to shut this thing down, period.
And Juliet, Brennan, described this pulling of security clearance, as an egregious act. He described the president as being drunk on power. In your view, how perilous does this make the situation for the intelligence community that the president would do this and threaten to do it more?
Yeah, so I think before the response and pushback by the senior leaders or formers, as we call them, of the defense and intelligence agencies, you might have thought, well, this is really bad. But this pushback that you're seeing, right, from, people like Bill Gates, who really don't get into the, sort of political scrum, as well as the former agents, I think suggests that the president sort of, did something without thinking through the consequences, which we've seen before. But I have to say, you can't look at what the president did to John Brennan outside the context of the Omarosa tapes, right? I mean, in other words, there's the press release that was sent out about Brennan was dated a month ago. I mean, this is being used to simply distract from a lot of bad media about the White House. And the fact that Sarah Sanders and others are the ones sort of in charge of this, as we now know in terms of the reporting, in terms of when they're going to release, future security clearance withholdings, suggests this is all political. And I think the intelligence community will survive this, but I think it shows how desperate Donald Trump, Sarah Sanders, and others are right now in terms of what the narrative means for the White House.